So today I am discussing how to overcome strife. So why am I doing this? Because I have noticed so many people either coming to me or I've heard them or read of them on social media or seen them or I'm seeing it on so many different platforms that strife seems to be so manifested right now. There seems to be such a huge overabundance of strife that I think it's time to address it. What creates strife? What causes it? For me personally, I think nothing causes it. I think it's the root of a much deeper problem. It is the manifestation of a deeper problem, and very often it goes back to our childhood. Now, this does not necessarily mean the home in which we were brought up. Maybe the adults there were fine and there was no problem, but it could have been at school. It could have been also all the other impact of everything else around us. And it could have been if we were plopped in front of a television set and said, okay, just watch this in order to be quiet. In other words, I don't want to hear from you right now. Just watch this. I've got things to do. So the messages we give when we say that we don't want to hear from you right now, and then we plop somebody in front of, have you seen the violence in cartoons? Have you seen the strife that's celebrated there? It's all based on simple violence in every shape and form, but specifically verbal violence. And I think that a lot of strife comes from the accepted use of verbal violence, of using language and words that will demean us, deprive us of our own sacredness, of our own being, and the irreverent way in which we're treated by the language that's being used. And therefore, we use the same thing to treat others that way. We relate to others that way too. Language is the basics, the basic element of all of our interactions with ourselves and with each other. And this is why when clients come to me, it doesn't matter why they come to see me. It could be simply because they're having too much strife in their lives, or it could be the strife is related to food and they are very confused about what they're eating or they're ill and they really recognize that they are and they wish to do something about it, or whether they just need to create a whole different lifestyle for themselves. It doesn't matter. I go to the same root of the problem. I look at the language that's creating the issue. It's always in our language. The language we use tells me everything. And that is why the first thing I do is I recommend that all clients, before they even start working with me, they read this book by Marshall Rosenberg, Nonviolent Communication, because at the root of all strife is the communication technique that we have inherited, whether from our parents, it could be intergenerational, it could be from school, it could be from our peers, it could be from, this is a big one, movies, songs, television. Have you heard some of the language in there and all the blame and all of the way in people which people are demeaned and put down and canceled? It's really important to look at our language. Why is this? Because it is the root of all the strife in our lives, in my opinion. And in working with my clients, when we actually tackle this, and my clients have not simply read the book, but worked with me on creating a whole different respect around language, it's interesting. Voila, solved. The mystery solved. That's where it is. So if you find yourself either becoming your parents, or let's say you're not, let's say you find yourself really feeling very lonely and you want to go out and be with others and meet others, but every time you go out, all you want to do is run away from there and leave them. You go out and you're with people and all you feel is this. I just want to leave. I just want to get out of here. I want to go home. Then you get home and you feel lonely again because you did make the effort to go and interact with others, but it was so life depleting for you. You felt so disconnected to them. And now here you are wondering if something is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. Just look at your language. the language that you have inherited and been taught, and change it. We constantly beat ourselves up with language. We can use language as a weapon to do so, or we can use language to elevate ourselves and pull ourselves up into the sacredness of our own being and r- use language to recognize the reverence of our own lives. Yes, language has the power to do all of that. And that is why I invite you to look at your language around this. So, why am I asking you to read this book if you're really feeling any strife right now? Because nonviolent communication, we learn to hear our own deeper needs and the needs of others. And now, though its emphasis is on deep listening, to ourselves as well as others, nonviolent communication does help us to discover the depth of our own compassion. So, this language that we start learning of nonviolent communication reveals the awareness that all human beings are only trying to honor universal values and needs every minute of every day. And that is what happens when we start paying attention to our language and we start learning how to communicate in a nonviolent manner. If not, we continue and all we create are chasms in our lives where we're all shouting at each other. We're using language as a megaphone to annihilate the other person, to cancel them, to not hear them because we want to be heard. And there's nobody hearing us because they have the exact same needs as ourselves. So by screaming and yelling at each other and talking over each other, we're just creating more strife. And the more strife we create, the more of a chasm of a canyon there is between us and the feeling of disconnection with others. And that is what we need to really look at. So whether we are battling with language of ourselves and we're very frustrated and just cannot one more day interact like this, means it's time to change your language. Or if your language is to beat yourself up and to constrain yourself to just being a number on a scale, and that's what you use to demean yourself because it's the language you're used to hearing and reading, then you need to change what you read, hear, and watch. Or whether your language is succumbing to what other people see as food when you know it doesn't work for you, and you know that if you do not go along with what they're telling you is real food, is really food, and you're beating yourself up with this and you're overeating, you're going to end up measuring yourself according to their own standards, which is using numbers to determine your own value, your own self value. And then at some point, you're going to feel just like this, frustrated, exhausted, tired, depleted, and just disgusted and not wanting to do that anymore, which then lead to all of these different problems here. And your self-esteem is so low that you wonder, how can you start again? Well, start with the language of non-communication. So, if this is any help to you and you'd like to hear more of this, the only way I know this is if you actually click the thumbs up button below and leave your comment, or at least click the notification button and the subscribe button. So this way I know that you would like more of this. And I'm going to leave you today with this from Marshall Rosenberg because I think this is so important. The objective of nonviolent communication is not to change people and their behavior in order to get our way. Oh, no, no, no. It is to establish relationships based on honesty and empathy, which will eventually fulfill everyone's needs. Your needs get fulfilled, other people's needs get fulfilled. And before you know it, you have become a nonviolent communicator, and people start flocking to you because of that. So, if you'd like more of this every weekday, I'm here with these elegantly raw tidbits at the same time, same platform. And if you are interested in more, please do click the thumbs up button and the notification and subscribe buttons below here. Thank you, everyone. I trust this was really of assistance to you today. Please consider this. Until next time, be well, be mindful, be bold, and change your language.